Cassowaries live in rainforests and mainly eat the fruits of rainforest plants. They are typically found in New Guinea and wetter parts of North Queensland. The mum cassowary chooses her mate and sometimes chooses more than one. She lays the eggs in the dad's nest. Then dad looks after them and raises the young. Cassowary chicks are little stripies first before becoming brown chicks. Around 18 months, they begin to go black and get their famous black and blue colour. Cassowaries live in rainforests, but they will go through other habitats in order to find fruit. Cassowaries will also be seen in mangroves, along waterways in woodlands, and on beaches. Cassowaries love a good swim in waterholes and on the beach. On Cape York, there is an opportunity to manage land and human behaviour in a way that protects and supports the local cassowary population, and you can be a part of this. To find out more about this project and to report a cassowary sighting, visit capeyorknrm.com.au. The research being done by Kalan Enterprises and CSIRO is a unique project that incorporates both traditional knowledge and science. The Calan Rangers use their knowledge of country to map and monitor the cassowaries in this region of Cape York. In other regions, threats have caused problems for cassowaries. If we want cassowaries to persist, we need to care for them and their homes. The Calan Rangers, with the help of the scientists from CSIRO, are doing just that in the Mcilwraith Rangers. We don't know exactly where cassowaries are on Cape York or how many of them there are, but our research will help us find out. Where are the cassowaries on your country?
The language, the land, the people. We belong to our language. That's how we connect to country. That's why every totem, our story place, these are significant sites and they're very significant to Aboriginal people. Some dances, they still do the cassowary dance. They use the feathers for decoration. They decorate their spears or wammers and headdress. For ceremony, everything is within a songline. The Kukiao people that's connected to the cassowary, the Giblet family, that's their totem. They be connected very close to that cassowary.
We've got stories, family members connected through totem to the cassowary. So I think it's really important that we monitor these animals and, keep track of them. Cassowary be something people want to look at. It's a very rare bird in Australia. It's important our people, it was a food source. Our ancestors used to hunt it, but it's about keeping a balance of things, keeping a track that they high in numbers, That's why we get doing surveys to keep track that they're there on country. It also indicates that it's a good, healthy country. There's plenty of food for them and water.
This project really is a partnership. It's a collaboration between Kalan and the scientists. They came to us looking for a way of incorporating our expertise with cassowaries with their need to manage their land appropriately to support cassowaries.
Traditional knowledge is very important for scientists to come and do their surveys, especially with access to country, but not only access to country, with different sacred sites. We don't take scientists into certain places. We got to respect those boundaries, and that's what we always do. And we respect the scientists for that. They respect our traditional knowledge and culture for that.
The traditional owners know about their country, so they're bringing a whole lot of local knowledge as well as their own expertise in the natural history of the area and of cassowaries. And we bring a whole lot of expertise or knowledge about how to design a scientific study, how to conduct that sort of a study in the field. And when we combine those two things, what we end up with is the ability to develop a scientifically valid method that is appropriate for the place, for the landscape, and for the people who are actually going to do the monitoring.
The Rangers protecting cassowary by managed land by traditional methods such as traditional burning throughout the year. That could help vegetation for the cassowary to be better for the long term. And with all that knowledge that we've been doing through our traditional methods, we can share that information with other agencies such as national parks. So we could say that this is how we've been looking after the country, this is how we've been managing it, and This is how we've been looking after cassowary, and hopefully they can take those information and those methods and apply it the same.
Pretty much everything we know about cassowaries in Australia comes from the tropical wet rainforests that you find between Cooktown and Townsville. That's where we've done almost all the research on cassowaries, and that's where we derive all of our information about their conservation and status. We knew cassowaries were in the rainforests of Cape York. What we didn't know, and what we're trying to find out in this study, is how broadly distributed they are in those rainforests and what other vegetation types they occur in. From a scientific perspective, we wanted to find out whether they were doing the same thing or whether they were doing something different to the birds down in the southern part. If we can identify what habitat types cassowaries need and what habitat types cassowaries use on Cape York, then what that can do is feed into the way rangers are managing their country.
We know where the cassowary is going to be because you look for the healthy part of the rainforest where the most canvas, the most thickness of the rainforest, or the most fruit is most likely where you're going to find your cassowary. To access the areas for cassowary, use the chopper at this time of the year because you can't get in there during the wet season with vehicles.
When we start out, we don't actually know where the animals are going to be. We'll start a day, we'll just walk through the bush, recording where we're going, and that's how we find where cassowaries are. After you've done that for a little while, you get familiarised with the sorts of areas that cassowaries are likely to be, and that's how rangers know how to find where the animals are.
We've been using iPad and that as keeping a record and for data. We're using drones for data collection as well. Put up in the air and getting a good bird's eye view on the rainforest. Using drones for our work through cassowary survey and other things in work. It's one of a kind. We walk this country, we've seen the country what it looks like on land, but to get a bird's eye view from on top with drones is just unbelievable. Feral pig is one of the biggest impact in the Kalan National Park and all throughout North Queensland. With the damages they're doing, taking out traditional and native plants, and it destroys plenty of things like birds, especially cassowary, by destroying their homes and destroying their food, destroying their waterways.
Other animals that can be a problem for cassowaries in particular are dogs, our domestic dogs, dogs we have around our homes, or the dogs that we go out hunting with. If we're hunting pigs, often the dogs won't make any distinction between pigs, cassowaries or anything else, and so when the pig dogs are excited and they bump into cassowaries, they can kill adults, they can kill chicks, and that's a real issue in some areas, so it's something we have to think about. Cassowaries also face threats from cattle. They open up the forest and allow light to get in, and gradually the forest becomes drier. So the cattle are changing the habitat out there for the cassowaries. In the long term, what we expect is that climate will change to become warmer and drier. As the climate gets warmer and drier, the rainforests will start getting smaller and smaller. And what that means is less habitat for cassowaries on Cape York. For land managers, some of the actions that they can take include things like being careful about preventing fire from going into cassowary habitat, and potentially doing things like setting up their pig management program, so if they're putting pig traps in cassowary habitat, so you're removing pigs from that habitat. Another thing though is making sure that you use traps that are cassowary friendly.
Yeah, the cassowary was a very important bird to Pama. So my children are connected to the cassowary more than I am. I look at the cassowary as a beautiful bird.
It's only in this part of Australia and New Guinea. I want to start a business with bird watching, and I think cassowary be something people want to look at. It's a very important bird to us. We want to put a walking track for tourists, and we'd like to find a location, and so tourists they be able to see it as well.
If there's going to be cassowaries on Cape York into the future, it's only going to be because the people who own the land on which cassowaries live have taken care of that land and looked after the birds as well. So the future of cassowaries on Cape York really is in the hands of the traditional owners.
It's very important that we all get behind supporting cassowary projects. These types of birds are very rare, and it'd be good if we can keep them here in Australia for a long shot. One of those things that we can do that by is getting rid of feral pig.